Hey everyone, Mrs. Spatola here. These are the answers from yesterday's homework. So here is 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So take a good look at these. Number 9 was definitely a challenge problem. Make sure when you're combining like terms, very, very important to make sure you use the shapes. Do not be impulsive. Take your time. Put them in order. In alpha order, and then from the exponent point of view, the highest exponent comes first. So for example, number 8, you can see that in your final answer, the 12x to the 4th power comes before the other two. So pause the video, check your work. Here are the rest of the answers for 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then more combining like terms at the bottom. Remember, if you have any questions, you can always send a message in Google Classroom. Let's take a look at today's lesson, which is going to be working again with the distributive property. Unit 6, Lesson 4, the distributive property with a variable. How can you use the distributive property with a variable? Well, if we recall, the distributive property is used to multiply a single term and 2 or more terms inside a set of parentheses. So let's take a look at equivalent expressions. A lot of vocabulary in this unit. Equivalent expressions are expressions that have the same value. So if we look at the expression 3 times 2 plus 4, that is the same when we apply the distributive property when it's 3 times 2 plus 3 times 4. So these two expressions would be considered equivalent expressions because they have the same value, which is 18. They are presented differently. The first one here is used with the distributive property. And then the second one is when it's expanded with the distributive property. The distributive property with a variable. To represent the distribution, use the distributive property. Now notice these arrows here are very important. What happens is, with the distributive property, we take the number on the outside of the parentheses, and as you can see with these arrows here, we apply them here and here. So we multiply by each number inside of the parentheses. So for the first one, it's 2 times 4, but now all we're doing when we have a variable is we bring the variable along. So it's 2 times 4a plus 2 times 3, and our final answer when we multiply is 8a plus 6. So one of the most important things we need to remember is when we use the distributive with a variable, we continue when we multiply, when multiplying, let's write this down, when multiplying with a variable, when we multiply with a variable, we just bring it along. When we multiply, bring the variable along. Make sure you copy that into your notes. Bring the variable, when we multiply, bring the variable along. Just copy that down. All right, great job. And then you notice, what do you notice about these terms here? Why can't, after we apply the distributive property, why is this our final answer? How come I did not add the 6 plus the 8a? You cannot combine unlike terms. So these terms here are unlike, therefore, we are finished. So that's one of the things that I want you to keep in mind during this lesson. If they do not have the same variable, you cannot combine them. In this case, the number 6, what do we call a number that's by itself? That's correct. We call it the constant. And in my book, I like to say it's constantly alone. Let's look at some practice problems. On this next page, I'm going to do a couple of problems with you, and then I'm going to have you do some practice, and then you can check your work. So for the first one, we have 4 times x plus 1. So in this case here, we show 4 times x plus 4 times 1. 4 times x plus 4 times 1. Our final answer is 4x plus 4. Can we combine any more? And the answer is no. Why is that? They are unlike terms. Why are they unlike terms? Because one of them has a variable, the other does not. And that's it. Let's move on to the next one. 6 times x plus 3. So this turns out to be 6 times x plus 6 times 3. 6 times x is 6x plus 6 times 3 is 18. We are done. Why can't we combine them anymore? Because they are unlike terms. The 6 has a variable, the 18 does not. We cannot combine unlike terms, so we are done. One thing that you need to know, and we really should make note at the top here, you can multiply, write this down, you can multiply unlike terms. You can multiply unlike terms. You can multiply them. You cannot add or subtract. You cannot add or subtract unlike terms. So wait, Mrs. Spatola, you're saying that you can multiply unlike terms? And I will say yes, you can multiply unlike. You cannot add or subtract unlike. So that's what you can do. You can multiply, you cannot add or subtract. Let's look at the next one, number 3. And another thing you have to be mindful of is watch your sign in the parentheses. Number 5, just kind of looking ahead here, number 5 has a minus sign, so be careful. Instead of adding, you would subtract. I'll do number 3 with you. 2 times 2x plus 2 times 4. 2 times 2x plus 2 times 4. And again, remember, this is the distributive property. Nothing new here. All we're doing is bringing that variable along. 2 times 2 is 4. Bring along that x plus 2 times 4, which is 8. They are unlike terms. I cannot add or subtract unlike terms, so I am finished. And again, good math practice. 6th grade getting ready for 7th grade. You always want to make sure that you put a box around your answer. I'd like you to try the rest of the page on your own. Pause the video. Try them all on your own. Pause the video and then go back and check your work. Good luck. Here you have the remaining answers for 3, 4, 5, and 6. And with these, be mindful of the directions. What does it say? It says use the distributive property to rewrite each expression. Okay, pause the video, try it on your own, and then you can hit play and check your work. And you should be checking your work. Hopefully all of your answers, if I did them correctly, which I should have, all of the answers here should match your work. If you have any questions, please be sure to ask in the Google Classroom. Let's go on to the next page. Problems number 5 and 6 are a couple of challenge problems, so try your best with that. Again, applying the distributive property, and then remember to combine like terms. I would apply the distributive property first and then combine all of the like terms to get your final answers. And then numbers 7 through 10, you want to see if the expressions are equivalent. Are they equal? Stop the video, pause the video, and try your best. Check your work. Here is the answer to challenge problem number 5. Final answer was 18A plus 33B plus 30. Notice I did everything in colors and in shapes. If you find that using colors helps you rather than shapes, you can take out a couple of either colored pencils or colored highlighters, and that will help you as well. And you don't have to make shapes, you could just use colors. Whatever helps you, whatever works best. And if we slide over and take a look at problem number 6, check your work, see how you did. 44A plus 12W plus 24 is your final answer. Let's go down and check the rest of your work and see how well you did. And here are the remaining answers. Just make sure you evaluate or solve each problem before you compare and say whether they are equivalent or not. And that's all we have for today. Let's take a look at tonight's homework. And here is the page for tonight's homework. I would definitely put a star next to this page. You're going to see a lot of different type questions. Do the best you can. This is going to be a great page to look back on when we have to review for our quiz and for our test. In addition, one of the other things that you should be doing, if you haven't already, since there is a lot of vocabulary cards, since there are a lot of vocabulary words in this unit, I would definitely try to make some index cards because vocabulary will be a part of your quiz. So for now, this is Mrs. Spatola wishing you a great day. And remember, always be kind.